I am Jess Campmans with Guided by Equus, and I'm here with a new and updated version of what was the HorseWisdom energy forecast. I haven't really come up with a name for it yet, but by the time the video comes out to the point of you seeing it, hopefully it will have some form of name. Just taking a deep breath and inviting everyone here to be part of this, and thank you for being here and joining me in this space. What has continued to come to me is this is HorseWisdom inspired healing, and so if this is the HorseWisdom inspired healing message for the week, then I guess let that be what this is. This is Noche, and behind me is Fancy, and I wanted to share a little bit about how this kind of transitioned. I've been feeling this transition for some time now, and sometime between last week and this week, I had a mourning dove show up on my ledge just outside my window one morning, and he kept walking around and strutting his stuff, and he was looking very majestic, so I grabbed my camera and I started taking some pictures, and he kind of was he seemed very happy and content with that, because then he sat there just kind of looking through the window at me for a while, and then he flew off. And I thought, well, that was kind of interesting. And then the second one came, and we have a number of mourning doves in our yard. So a second one came and did the same thing, and I knew he was different because he had a few different markings. And so I just really acknowledged them, and I looked up what mourning dove means. And I always thought it was morning dove, like in the morning time, but no. Mourning dove is morning, M-O-U-R-N. And so when one of them hit my window, I was kind of jolted into, okay, really pay attention now. And I went outside, and there was nobody laying there, but he was standing right above on my roof and looking down at me. And so I knew that there was a deeper message in this. And I have Noche really yawning right now, so that's confirming, and actually Fancy yawning too, who has rarely yawned in the last few years of her being here. And there's a really big piece in both of these horses for this next phase of what HorseWisdom inspired healing, because it's about evolution, our evolution with the horses, our evolution with ourselves, with humanity in general. And so, to come back to my story, I'm looking up at this mourning dove on the roof, and he's looking down at me, and I just asked him, like, why are you here? What are you here to show me? Because mourning doves symbolize the beginning of something that is unseen, but a sense of a need to grieve so that a new beginning can arise, can awaken, a more peaceful way of being is coming. But that sense of grieving we have to allow it to help us move into that beginning. And so as I sat there and I understood this message from him, I kind of asked, what do I need to grieve? And basically what this bird offered was everything that you're holding on to. Because until you grieve all of those things that you're holding on to, you can't actually let go of them, so you can arrive and meet this new beginning, this way of being in a more peaceful relationship, so that you can evolve without struggle. And as I got that, he climbed up to the top of the roof and looked down at me. And I was kind of sitting there just really deeply acknowledging him, and I found myself that I was actually crying. And he then looked one more time at me and flew off and flew away. And so I've come to these horses here tonight to share with you what feels like a new beginning to this year, And I know that everything that's going on in the world around us right now does not feel new. It feels like the old is just coming up once again for us to look at how we haven't been looking at it before. But often when we allow ourselves to grieve something that we feel we've lost or we feel we no longer have, it actually makes way and room and space within us to find that thing that is missing in our lives. And sometimes that thing that we're missing is peace within us. And sometimes that's just speaking for myself, because I've felt a lot of internal and existential struggle through this last month of May. And so what I recognized after I allowed myself to sit there with this mourning dove and grieve is that there is something that I really haven't been honoring in this space, in trying to please a number of people in my world that I really care about. But in trying to please those people, I've actually been abandoning this work of the evolution of relationship through inspired healing, what the horses have shown me and continue to teach me. And as I recognized that, I actually had to grieve that I was in such a deep struggle within myself, because then I could finally let it go. And in grieving for what I was trying to give and what I couldn't get, everything kind of all came together in a way that that just had a lot more peace and sense of beingness within me. And so this week, what these horses are doing an awful lot of releasing through this video. But that's good, because it's real, and we can't continue to cover up the things that aren't real, because when we try to cover them up and pretend like everything's good and nothing's wrong, and nothing might not be wrong, but if we're feeling that we're struggling against something, then there's something that isn't right in our world. And this weekly forecast is not a forecast anymore. It's a message for what maybe is wanting us to dive deeper into it, to uncover those places and spaces within us so we can begin that evolution of relationship for ourselves as reflected back to us by the horses, and how they want us to meet them. But before we meet them there, we have to meet ourselves there, because they have been willing to meet us in this space for eons, helping humanity evolve. But what I continue to realize now is they will show up for us, but it is up to us to recognize the work that we need to do and to acknowledge whether we are willing to step on this path with them that actually really will lead us out of this place of darkness that we're in and into somewhere that is beyond things that we ever thought was possible. That begins with healing, but the rest of it moves into the realm of inspiration and infinite potential. And on the 1st of June, for the first time ever, I watched my daughter's horse Summer walk up alongside the fence after months of struggle and uncertainty between the two of them. And she looked back as if to say, "Are you getting on?" And my daughter looked at me and said, "Mom, are you seeing this?" Yeah, this is what's possible. That your horse wanders up to a fence and looks back at you saying, "Come on, are we going?" And witnessing that inspired me. And so instead of sharing a forecast, I want these to be messages of healing and inspiration, the horses have offered to me, and that I'm sharing in full transparency and vulnerability the struggles that exist, but the pathway to something that is even more profound once we are willing to meet what it is that needs to be acknowledged. And it all started with a mourning dove. So I would love to hear back from you guys if any of this resonates. But I know that I can feel, with how much emotion continues to move up and through me, that this is really what needs to be shared. So much love to you guys from myself and Noche and Fancy and the rest of the entire Guided by Equus herd. And we're here for you. So take care till next week, and the Horse Wisdom Inspired Healing Message.